You got the Chris Salcedo Show. Happy you've tuned in, everybody. Let's get to our guest. His name is Hogan Gidley, Deputy Assistant to the President and Principal Deputy Press Secretary at the Trump White House. You got a new title, man, so I had to read it off of my cheat sheet here because, well, you're just coming up in the world.
Well, the title seems to be so long, sometimes I have to just staple two business cards together.
Just going to say, how do you fit that all on one side? Really, I got to ask.
Yeah, government does everything pretty big. It's like the state of Texas, right? So they have to do it pretty big up here.
Indeed. Okay, so let's you and I get the nitty-gritty here. Look, I'm going to run down some headlines, just the headlines. This is what the Democrats call a manufactured crisis. 76,000 folks, illegal aliens trying to break into the country in 1 month, in the month of February. 7 Yemenis wearing hard hats and reflective vests are smuggled into Texas. After cold months at the border, illegal crossings expected to surge again. MS-13 gang member among 6 arrested by DEA on drug charges. This is what the Democrat Party calls a manufactured crisis, Hogan. What does the White House say?
It wasn't manufactured in 2014 when Barack Obama from the Rose Garden called it a humanitarian crisis. Everybody was in lockstep with that. They understood the dangers that this country faces when you allow people in here unchecked to bring in drugs, the drug cartels, the human traffickers, the child smugglers, all of those things. And you hit on one of the numbers I think that's key. 76,000 just in the month of February coming to our southern border. Now, just to put that in some perspective for your listeners, that's basically the Houston Texans stadium filling up once a month with people who have no business being here whatsoever, and then just releasing them into your community. That's the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, Jerry's World, filling it up top to bottom once a month, and then just letting them out into the communities in the Dallas area with no check whatsoever. That's what's going on along our southern border, and Democrats pretend as though this isn't happening. They won't acknowledge it, and they say, yeah, but the numbers were higher in the early 2000s when Bush was president. Well, that's not really true. It's not just about the numbers. The number of Mexican men are down, but the number of family units and children are way up, yep. And they're not coming from Mexico. They're coming from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and we can't automatically send them back the way you can with Mexico. So
why?
They're here, and they're
because our laws
our laws, and
yes.
Congress hasn't touched them in 40 years.
Yes.
That's why.
That's why.
And so the problem exists because Congress has abdicated responsibility on both sides of the aisle and refused to do the hard things necessary to protect the American people. That's why this president had to step in and say, listen, I'm going to do everything in my legal authority, which includes a national emergency, to try and get something done to protect the people of this country.
So it's lazy legislators, and we know it's lazy legislators and legislators who have continually abdicated their responsibility to the American people. Instead, the Democrats have a foreigners first policy, but it's not just Democrats. Now the president is facing in the Senate a defection. I'm hearing as many, Hogan, as 10 Republicans may side against the American people, may side against this president, who the people and the president want to stop the illegal activity at the border. And Congress is saying, well, no, we don't want to stop that illegal activity, all of it. So 10 Republicans are going to defect. Here's the question to you. If they do, in your mind, does the president believe that these Republicans have earned primary challengers, and would the president support primary challengers to these Republicans?
Well, first things first, let me first address what you said about lazy legislators. That's true, but it's more than laziness. You saw the hearings yesterday with Secretary Nielsen. It's ignorant legislators. They don't have no idea what's going. They just don't know the information. They're not in tune with what's going on.
They don't care.
But the ones that do know, it appears like either they won't acknowledge it, they don't know it, or they don't care to do anything about it. So that's even worse than just being lazy. That's ignorant and then refusing to do anything about it once you actually learn the data. And they said, look, let's sit down and talk to the experts first along the border, then we'll decide what to do. Well, the experts told them it was a crisis, and then they said, oh, that's horrible. Now we're not going to do anything about it, and we're going to deride you at every turn.
Exactly.
And we're going to try to handcuff ICE so they can't arrest people who are illegally, or they have to just start letting people out.
But what does it mean to be a Republican these days? I mean, it used to be Republicans believed in law and order, believed in the Constitution, believed in limited government, and believed in a government that was responsive to the people, it seems like this current crop of Republicans, in particular Mitch McConnell's Senate, isn't there. So I'll redirect you back. In the White House's opinion, if a Republican votes against this emergency declaration, have they earned a primary challenge, and will the president back those primary challengers?
Well, I'm not trying to get out of your question here, but the fact remains, look, there are Hatch Act things I can't talk about as it relates to elections or challenges or things like that. But I do agree with the premise that, voters have to take a serious look at what their elected officials do, not just what they say, but what they actually do when it comes times to vote. Mm-hmm. And so, there are a handful of Republicans who may defect here. But the fact is, as we talked about at the beginning of this segment, which is, you had 40 years to fix it. This is a constitutional duty of the president. He took an oath to protect the American people, and it's well within his constitutional and legal rights to call a national emergency. Now, I'm
glad you brought that up. Hogan Gidley is our guest right now, folks. I got to get his title right now because it's new. Principal Deputy Press Secretary at the Trump White House. I'm glad you brought this up because I was listening yesterday. I think it was Limbaugh who brought this up. U.S. Code 1182 subsection F. And I'm not going to read the whole subsection because I know you're familiar with it, and we've posted it before on the Salcedo Show Facebook page. This basically says the president has the legal authority, and it's already been tested with the travel ban in the Supreme Court. He has the legal authority to shut it all down. He can shut down all immigration until Republicans and Democrats come to their senses and actually do some work for a living. Let me ask you, will the president consider shutting it all down until Congress gets off its butt and does something?
Well, I won't get ahead of what the president will or won't do. He said many times that all options are on the table here. And while the declaration of national emergency is part of the thing that's getting all of the publicity and press because it's the sexiest piece of this, and the president rightly predicted that it would go through the courts and Congress would reject it and all those things would happen, while everyone's looking at that, we're focused on the actual about $3.5 billion we can get right now on DOD transfer funds of anti-narcotics funding, on the Treasury forfeiture fund, on also the $1.37 billion we got in the appropriations deal. So there's money out there. The president said, look, I'm not going to wait on you. I've got money I can use right now that won't be challenged legally. I've got it, so I can do it. So to use a Southern, I guess, colloquialism or anecdote here, we've got the biscuits. If you want to argue over the gravy, that's fine. You can take that to the Supreme Court all day long.
All right.
But we've got enough now to start doing this immediately. So that's going to get the publicity, and the Republicans are going to do their thing. The Democrats will do theirs. But we're not waiting on that because we have the constitutional authority to move those funds around to actually protect the American people.
Well,
and that's what's at stake here. Look, let's just focus on that for a moment.
Right.
The American people deserve. Why can't the American people get the same thing?
I agree. Look, it's abundantly clear that the Democrats' priorities, citizens from foreign countries. There some Republicans, some wayward Republicans, their priorities are citizens of other countries. I prefer my president and my lawmakers in the United States to have United States citizens first. And again, I think playing some hardball with the president, playing some hardball with Congress to shock them if he shuts down all of their precious, vaunted illegal aliens, those coming from other countries, it might shock them to actually work on behalf of the American people. Last question I wanted to get out to you. Look, the president has members of the Jewish community as his family, his grandchildren, his son-in-law are members of the Jewish community. Does the White House have an official position on the Democrats' inability to condemn anti-Semitism?
Well, the president addressed this on Twitter, I think, yesterday. This is just a grotesque display of anti-Semitism. It has no place in this country. And to watch the Democrats kind of fall all over themselves and become beholden to, a growing radical leftist base that's kind of controlling and pulling all the levers on their side. Let's take a quick second to get to how we got here. I mean, their policies now are making America socialist, killing babies after they're born, and a Green New Deal that would get rid of cows and cars and airplanes and anything.
Oh my!
And allow money for people who are quote unquote unwilling to work. And on top of that, they have a growing anti-Semitism in their ranks that has been around for a long time. And it went from we're going to condemn Ilhan Omar and her anti-Semitic comments to, we're going to take her out of the bill and just put in anti-Semitic comments. No, we're not going to do that. We're also going to condemn all types of hate speech. So it completely waters down the point. When the Republicans, Steve King said what he said, they stripped him of everything, every committee assignment. They condemned the remarks. They condemned him. And on the opposite side, the Democrats just let it fester. And, you know, the president has made clear how he feels about it, but also, as you said, he's more than the president of the United States. He's a father and he's a grandfather, and he has a Jewish daughter and he has Jewish grandchildren, and that matters to him. Hatred for those people in his family upsets him, and it has no place in this country, and it should have no place in the Democrat Party, although it does and has for years.
That's all that party has descended into. It's a party of hate. On various topics, including hatred of this president. So that's where the Democrat Party is choosing to go for 2020. Hogan Gidley, everybody, Deputy Assistant to the President and Principal Deputy Press Secretary at the Trump White House. Sir, always appreciate the visit here on the Salcedo Show.
Have a great day. Thanks so much for the time.
You betcha, sir. Thank you very much.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for breaking news and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, then share it with your friends. Remember, you can watch Newsmax TV live on YouTube. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.